First of all, let me thank everybody here for this momentous occasion, because it truly is something special for our state. I want to thank the partnership that we put together to make this happen when we heard that there might be an opportunity, and we wrote it into the infrastructure bill, the $8 billion to go to hydrogen hubs. And I can explain to you why we had done that and why we thought hydrogen is something that's been around forever. We just never basically invested from this country to bring it as one of our main fuel sources. And when things were changing, we thought it'd be a great time to bring this to fruition. And you're going to do it by the investments we're making and by going into the new different iterations of what hydrogen can do for our country. Anyway, for those on the original team that we started with my friend, Senator Shelley Moore Capito, my good friend, Congressman David McKinley, and basically with the governor's office, Governor Jim Justice, we put the political team together to show that we were in unity, put the support behind this. And then we start saying, okay, how do we put all of this together? And I look around, I see all the people here that were part of that. But I want to start first with Aria Hines. Aria, where's Aria? Right there. She's been taking the point on this, working with Patel. And I want to thank Gordon for basically talking to us, and Brad bringing in Patel, and bringing a real marquee partner to kind of head this and bring it together. Working with Don and then Lou and the whole group, you all been wonderful. Everyone has brought it together. And then finally, we had to work in making sure that we were doing things in the way it was intended to be done with our friends at DOE, Department of Energy. And with me, we have our wonderful Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, with us. I want to thank her for being here. And her team, David Crane, and all of those. And then next of all, I have a gentleman that needs no introduction because I've known him forever, but he's been the one basically coordinating how this money is going to be invested and spent. And that's my friend Mitch Landrieu. And we're happy to have him here today. And so with that, we look at what we're doing, and sincere thanks to Morgantown, to the Nettle. I think this is a proper place for us to do it. This is all about one of our labs that we have that we depend on so much in our country for giving us the technology that's needed for us to provide the energy that this country is going to be needing, and also be able to bring together how we use fossil that we need from day to day to make sure that our energy is secured, and as we transition into the fuel of the future. It's really what we've done and by putting these bills together, and we've been working very hard on that. In 1863, West Virginians have made tremendous sacrifices to power the nation. I don't need to tell you all the history of our state, but if you don't know, I will repeat. This little state here has really given her all. When you think of the coal that's come from the region, this region, our whole state, whether it be the thermal coal or whether it's the coking coal, to make the guns and ships to basically defend our country. It's a vital necessity of every war that we've ever been involved with. Energy is the crux, and energy makes things happen. You have to be energy dependent if you want to be a superpower. And with that, we are a superpower because we have energy independence today. This little state of West Virginia has given everything she has to this great country of ours. She's mined the coal, and we've been through all the challenges that we've ever could face with some of the coal mining disasters that we've had, but also the determination of the people who go down and the families that support them. And the only thing that we've ever asked for is they have a right to come home safe and be able to take care of themselves and their family and have the benefits that are needed to live a quality of life. And we've been able to provide that. But I've said that we made the coal, we mined the coal that made the steel, that built the guns and ships. And on top of that, we have the most patriotic people. We've given more to our country for the cause of freedom than most any state. We've shed more blood and lost more lives for the cause of freedom than most any state. And if you've ever been to the Vietnam Wall, I'll tell you that on a per capita basis, the state of West Virginia has, unfortunately, more names on that wall that have given their life for the cause of freedom than most any state. So we've done the heavy lifting. We've proved our patriotism. And now's a chance to take it to the next level. And that's really what this is all about. But rather than me telling you all the things that Hydrogen Hub is going to do, because it's going to change a powerhouse of an energy hub such as West Virginia. And that's exactly what we are. We have a little bit of everything going on here, and basically everybody can benefit from it. Not just the people in West Virginia and all the citizens here and the transitions that are going on, but we're going to be able to provide good jobs. And a lot of innovation and creation is going to come from this. And we're going to share that with the rest of the world, that we can clean up and make sure that we're all accountable and responsible for the environment. That's what we're responsible. I've said this, you cannot eliminate your way to a cleaner environment. Some people said, oh, don't produce any oil, don't produce any gas, don't produce any more coal. We're going to do everything with renewables. That day may come, but I can guarantee you one thing. You better be energy independent if you want to be energy secured. And right now, I will tell you that we're producing more energy in all facets than we ever have in the history of our country. 4.6 billion barrels of oil will be produced this year, 37 trillion cubic feet of gas, 13.5 billion cubic feet of LNG a day. That'll go up to 20 to 25 billion cubic feet a day by 2030. We've produced more wind and more solar. We've doubled that in 1 year than ever before. So it's working. What we have done together collectively is working to provide the energy security we need, but also the energy that the world needs, and our allies especially. And if you don't think that's true, ask our friends in the UK and France and Germany what they've gone through. Never have to do that again. So we're doing everything that we can. The amount of money, I think has been said, and they're going to remind you of this, but it's close to $1 billion. But the spin-off effect, this could be $6 billion or greater. The amount of jobs could be up to 20,000 jobs, most of them in West Virginia, but we have our friends in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Collectively, we work together. And that's really what it's all about. What's the hydrogen hub? I'm going to let the people that have the expertise tell you more about that. But also, the person I went to immediately to make sure we had the energy to do it was right here, Toby Rice. I said, hey, Toby, you got enough? He said, absolutely. And I can get you more if you need it. So, with that, the types of projects, we'll go into that and they'll talk to you about it, but I wanted to introduce some of the people that are here and going to basically tell you a little bit of not only their involvement, but what they have seen for the future of West Virginia, why their vision was so important for this to become a reality today. Again, I can't thank enough, and I will at the end here, thanking Jennifer for coming. Her and I were governors together. We became good friends. Her husband and Gail and all of us have been very, very close, and we've had great times. And then as she's come into this position, it's been tremendous to work with her again. The beauty about our relationship, you can agree to disagree and still be friends. And you can still be human when you do things. What happens, we've lost civility in the United States. We've lost it in the political arena. And you're seeing all this discourse basically going on throughout society. It starts in Washington. If they believe it's okay to treat a friend or so-called friend or an ally or a colleague of yours the way that people talk about each other up there, then people back home say, well, it must be okay for me to do it too. It's not okay. It's not acceptable in any realm of a civil country and civilization. And the decorum, we had to put a little bit of guardrails on that to make sure that we were representing our people in the proper attire, and we've done that. It's a shame that we had to do it. You would have thought that would have been something that would have been understood, but in today's world, the lines are murky and nothing seems to be understood. Today, they are going to understand the energy that we're going to produce for this great country in the cleanest form we possibly can that has the horsepower to run this country. It'll run the planes and the trains and everything else in between. It can do it all. And we have it right here in our backyard. So without further ado, I want to bring two friends of ours who've been very much a part of this team. I'd like to bring both Gordon Gee and Brad Smith, our two marquee universities, our higher education institutions, and the presidents of both. Please come forward.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Senator Manchin. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a milestone moment in West Virginia state history. Not only does this announcement today bring the promise of tens of thousands of jobs, but it reinforces the critical role that our state has played and will continue to play in this country's energy innovation. We want to thank Senator Manchin. I almost gave you a promotion there. Sorry about that. Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, Secretary Granholm, we love seeing you in the great state of West Virginia. Every time you come to West Virginia, you bring good news. And today's another day of good news. I mean, today this represents economic opportunity for our state. In addition to jobs, it brings investment that will have a spin-off effect. It also brings innovation. It'll be a catalyst to foster innovation between private industry and the institutions of higher education and research and development. And last but not least, it's going to help give us the focus in education and workforce training to ensure we have the skills and capabilities to have the workers to be able to fulfill these jobs and keep our students and our citizens right here in Appalachia. So I can tell you on behalf of Marshall University and a part of Universities United, we are privileged and we are prepared to serve our part to bring this vision to reality. And with that, I'll introduce my dear friend, my mentor, President Gordon Gee from West Virginia University.
Thank you, thank you. So, oh my, oh my, oh my, I'm not certain that I wasn't certain this was going to happen. You know, Secretary Granholm and I have another life that we lead. She was the governor of Michigan, and I was the president of Ohio State, and we beat Michigan every year that I was there. And I thought that this is retribution, as a matter of fact, but I appreciate that. So anyway, we're honored to have you here, Madam Secretary, and obviously to everyone here. I am really grateful, and I appreciate my younger brother here helping me up, because I had my hip replaced 3 weeks ago, and I wasn't going to let him be here without me. So I got out of my deathbed just to be here. I want you to know that. In fact, about three years ago, I had my other hip replaced, and I was dedicating a hospital. I got up on the stand, fell right off the end of it, you know, went right directly to the hospital. But anyway, it was. It's great. So Senator Manchin, thank you for your tenacious efforts. You are a great friend of every one of us here, and we know that. Senator Capito, we appreciate you so much, and all the work that you're doing. And we are blessed in this state to have a congressional delegation that actually likes each other. And that's something that very few places can say. And of course, my good friend David McKinley. David, it's good to see you. You're going incognito now, David. I don't. Yeah, well, he's trying out for Mountaineer. You're a little old, David. So anyway, and then I do want to recognize Lou Van Thayer, who is the president of Battelle. Battelle has been our great partner, and of course, it's the premier private research organization in this country. And so the fact that we've been able to get great partners, Toby, others, we're all grateful to have you here. So we look forward to Arch 2 because it's going to establish Appalachia as the nation's center for hydrogen research and hydrogen solutions. And innovators at our universities, and we call ourselves Universities United. We are that. We call ourselves the Thundering Mountaineers. But we are working to develop technologies and educate the workforce necessary to achieve and sustain a clean energy economy. So this partnership, and there are a lot of partners here, this partnership is what this nation should be about. We have had too much of us yelling at each other. We do not have enough talking to each other. And so today, not only do I celebrate a great opportunity for West Virginia with jobs and people who will be affected directly, but I really, truly feel blessed to be part of a bipartisan effort. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to be here today. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you to both, because the higher education institutions in West Virginia are something that we always count on and we need so desperately to provide the leadership that we have and are needed, and also the workforce that's needed. We've been so blessed to have with us a good friend of mine, one of the first people I met in the early 1980s, when we went to House of Delegates together. And he walked over across the aisle and says, I'm David, and I says, I'm Joe, and he says, we're going to work together, and I said, we are, and we have ever since. He's been a dear friend, and is a loss to the state of West Virginia by not being in that position. I can assure you of that. There's nobody that fought harder to bring people together and worked in a bipartisan way than my dear friend, Congressman David McKinley. David?
Now, you heard it when I said to Gordon that I wanted to be the Mountaineer, but then he told me I'm too fat and old. But I've never seen a Mountaineer with a white beard. I think it's time, don't you? Yeah. There we go. So let's, thank you. Thanks for all the turnout here on this. And Secretary, it's always good to see you and my two favorite senators. I just started putting some thoughts together on this. With all the drama going on in Washington today, think about that. They can't elect a speaker. Think of the confusion that was there. But now go back, if you think that was bad, you should have imagined what life was like 3 years ago when we started working this legislation together. Now, most of our delegation cared about and tried to do something about it because we wanted West Virginia, we wanted this state and these universities to be the epicenter of energy development in this country. That was our focus with it. And we were sitting on top of the Marcellus and Utica, the shale gas, largest energy center in the country. We had coal reserves for hundreds of years. We had that. But the problem we faced, Gordon, was carbon capture. We were emitting too much carbon in the atmosphere, and the public was becoming more concerned about what we were going to do about that. But we tried numbers of times at how we were going to be able to get this carbon capture, because if it could, it would save, like Joe said, it would save our coal industry, it would save our gas industry. But we had to get the carbon capture. So for years, we recognized that role, and Kurt Schrader and I from Oregon, we worked together to put together a piece of legislation that was probably the most profound piece of legislation that would have addressed this, but we ran out of time when we were trying to do bipartisanship of capturing carbon. So what we have now is we have this bill. This bill really does capture a couple things that I think are particularly important. One is we knew in Washington, and those of us that drive the roads in West Virginia and the sewer and water line problems we have here, we knew we had to have infrastructure. But now, what if we could possibly combine an infrastructure bill that's bricks and mortar that make a difference in our lives with an energy bill and put together that as we could possibly do this? Now, fortunately, our senators got onto that. They understood that. And so what they put together was a lot of the amendments. The bill passed out of the House and then went over to the Senate. And then thanks to Joe and Capito, they were able to put it together to get something now that we could work with over on the House side. Because without those amendments, those things that the senators have put in, that bill wouldn't have happened. This whole prospect of jobs that we were talking about, both of you, we wouldn't have that if we had not had our action from our senators on this. So now we finally have a bill, multiple facets with it. In one of them, it has a way to lower the production, because for hydrogen's been out there, but it's an expensive alternative. We needed to have funds put into that so that we could lower that, so we could find out a way to, maybe as an alternative to the steam methane. Let's find out. And we know we have electrolysis, but we know those are expensive processes. Let's put the funds into this research, and that's what I'm hoping our universities are going to go into that arena with it. We need to have the research and development on carbon capture, because as you create hydrogen, you also create the carbon. As a matter of fact, right now, if you use the gas to make hydrogen, you make 10 tons of carbon for every 1 ton of hydrogen. And that's working against our mission here. We're trying to find ways to lower our carbon footprint, not add to it. So now we're going to work on that. This legislation will enable us to do this. But then after we create the hydrogen, we got to ship it someplace. We got to have pipelines. And Joe's been working on that for years, on streamlining pipeline permitting process. Keep in mind, the reason I say that a pipeline is that we have about 500 kilometers of natural gas pipeline in America. But we only have 5,000 pipelines that will ship ammonia, and that ammonia is probably the easiest way for us to be able to ship hydrogen. So you're talking 100 times more pipelines than natural gas. So we've got to work with Joe. They've got to figure out a way that we can get more of those pipelines. And then we have the problem with certain people, certain groups out there that want to prevent pipelines being built across America. You got to deal with what we had to get. Actually, we had to have an act of Congress to be able to get the LNG to market. Maybe that's what we're going to have to get accomplished here again, is something. And then the last is the storage of our hydrogen. Yeah, we can make it, but we're not always going to be able to consume it as quickly. So we've got to find a way to store that. And that goes back to what we were working, Shelley, Joe, and all three of us, we were working together about an ethane storage hub, where we were identifying where those salt domes could be, where the hard rock caverns, so we could store some of this. Because remember, to keep our hydrogen in a liquid state, where we have to have it in liquid, it has to be a minus 250 degrees Celsius. So we've got some real issues here that we have to address with this. But we have found ways of where we can store it. Now we just have to work with it. So this legislation is going to have a just a profound effect on us in West Virginia. It's going to put us back into the leadership, that mantle of leadership that I think we've somewhat lost over the years in addressing energy. This legislation is important. It's now a law, and it's coming to West Virginia, and part of that, and I want to say thank you to the Secretary for making it sound a lot of that happen, because not only are we getting hydrogen as a possibility of energy, but we also got an infrastructure bill to take care of our roads and bridges and sewer and water lines. And one thing Shelley's talked, broadband coverage for internet, so that our people can have that and enjoy that with other rest of it. So it is a comprehensive bill. I was honored to be part in the House when it came over. Yeah, Joe, it cost me my job, but I'm glad I did it, because this is all about West Virginia. This is all about West Virginia. Thank you. God bless you.
Well, you know who the engineer of the caucus was. And if we could ever get him to just explain the kilometers and miles and all that, sometimes he gets confused. I don't know if we had too many or not enough. I just knew we had to do more. Anyway, David, you know, it didn't cost you your job. Basically, your job was to do exactly what you did, and you'll never be forgotten for that. I want you to know that. That's what it's all about. Well, next, let me just tell you a little about next. The person I'm going to announce and introduce next is somebody that I've known for quite some time, and her and Charlie can tell stories about all of us, I guess, and we have some relationships that go back quite a way. But the bottom line is we are punching above our weight as a state. You know, my dear friend Shelley is, she's the head person on the Republican side on EPW, Environmental Public Works, which everything that we do, the environment, everything about West Virginia. I happen to be chairman now because Democrats have the majority in the Senate of energy. So when you look at energy and environmental public works, there's nothing that interacts and basically directly involved with our economy and the jobs we have in America more than those two agencies. And those agencies and basically the jurisdiction that we have covers everything from the water you drink up into the energy that you receive and everything in between. And on top of that, we are the only two senators in the United States of America are sitting on together on Appropriations Committee. The only two out of 100. So when you say we're punching above our weight, we're doing it because we're so proud of the state we represent and what our state has done. And we never let them forget. Never a day that goes by that we don't let anybody forget what West Virginia has done for you. And I'm so proud to have her as my partner, and we've been able to work together to do some great things for the state of West Virginia. Shelley Moore Capito, are you a senator?
Well, thank you, Joe, and it's always great to be with my favorite other senator. And we do punch above our weight. And you know, if you really think about what we're talking about today, the two most influential committees really are Environment and Public Works and Energy. And Secretary Granholm, thank you for coming back to West Virginia. It's a pleasure to have you and you all. And David, we miss you, and you did educate Joe and I. Maybe if you added Joe and I's IQ up together, we might get up to David, but I'm not sure. You know what this says to me today is that West Virginia has always been an energy state, and it's been an energy region, Pennsylvania and Ohio. And you know what? This announcement today solidifies that for our future for many, many generations to come. And that's as it should be. It also tells me today, as I look at my two favorite presidents, that partnerships work. And when you work together and when you iron out differences and you listen to the other side or other people who have different ideas, you can pull it together and work. So congratulations to the group that did the actual writing, interviewing, and all of the things, the pushes and pulling of an elaborate and very competitive process. Congratulations to all the partnerships. Governor Justice and his team, and all of you, Aria, and your team. So we already know what this is about, and I just briefly want to say the way that Arch 2, and thank you for naming that Arch 2. That's very nice for me. Easy for me to remember. For those of you who don't know, my dad's first name was Arch, and I have a grandson named Arch, so it's good. I got two Arches. Arch 2 creates thousands and thousands of jobs, cleaner, greener energy. And I think what we battle a lot of times in West Virginia and across this nation, and I know at the Energy Department and certainly over at the EPA, is Can you do one and not the other? Can you do the environment and not energy? Can you do energy and not the environment? You know what? Today, what we're celebrating is you can do both of them at the same time. And it can be a win-win on every side. It can be an economic win and an environmental win. And that's what we want for our children and grandchildren and for the many, many people who are going to be the beneficiaries of the jobs we have here today. You know, in our state, one of the things we battle, and I know that President Smith and President Gee battle this every day, is to try to keep our young people in West Virginia to grow the economy, to raise their families like Charlie and I have been able to do, and really enjoy the benefits of a wonderful state. And when you have a visionary and an innovative thing like a hydrogen hub that has such a long future to it, this to me says to the next generation, you're going to want to stay, be here, and contribute. So from the bottom of my heart, as a West Virginian, as we all are here, up here, David and Joe and I, thank you for putting the faith in West Virginia. Thank you for recognizing the hard work that we've done as a region of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. And I can't wait because I think the sky's the limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. You know, for any of these projects to work, you have to have a buy-in from the whole state. And that's just not just the state itself. It's from the city, the county, municipality. It's all of us together. There's never been a better partner that I've ever worked with since I've been involved in politics in West Virginia for an awful long time than a person that's right here in Monongalia County. I call him the Energizer Bunny because if you ever seen the Energizer Bunny, battery never goes dead. Never goes dead. And when this guy gets up, you're going to know exactly why it's never gone dead, because he definitely is the economic Energizer Bunny for the county of Monongalia, but all the people here, but really has the whole state of West Virginia in his heart. And I appreciate him more than he knows. My dear friend, Commissioner Tom Bloom. Tom?
On behalf of the Monongalia County Commissioners, Sean Sikora, Jeff Arnett, and myself, we would like to welcome you to our county. We are honored to have Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, my good friend Representative McKinley, Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, and other honored guests. We are ecstatic to be a part of this regional clean hydrogen hub project that will drive clean manufacturing and thousands of jobs. But it's more. This is the announcement we've been hoping for. This is a transformational change for our region and for our state. This means more funds for our schools, more funds for our infrastructure, more funds for economic development, and a better quality of life for all our citizens. In Monongalia County, we have a work ethic that follows my favorite Mark Twain quote: action speaks louder than words. Ergo, Madam Secretary, you will not find a harder working group of citizens than you have found here. You will not find individuals who will be more committed to this endeavor. By us working together, we will accomplish these projects that you set before us. Thank you for this opportunity.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a person who I've worked with so closely over so many years. I worked with his dear father way before I knew him, but he's really been the lead in economic development in the state of West Virginia. Everything that we have, we work together, and I know Shelley's office does, and David, I know you did too. But we have our good friend Mitch Carmichael here from the Development Office, state of West Virginia. And next of all, I've never seen a successful business without the work crew and the dedicated and craftsmen that had the skill sets to do what needs to be done for our great state and this great country. And that starts right here in West Virginia. When you have labor with you, when you have business and labor working together for the same objective, to make sure you have the best product, the best values, and the best and safest workforce, that's really what it's all about. And we're happy to have with us our dear friend Josh Sword, head of the AFL-CIO in West Virginia.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. On behalf of organized labor in West Virginia, we have many union leaders in attendance today. Congratulations to everyone. And there were lots of people, lots of different partners as mentioned before, that played a role in the application and then the award of Arch 2. This is a win for the entire state of West Virginia. It is going to lead to real change. On top of the investments that have previously been announced and put into motion, which will result in thousands of jobs, Arch 2 is expected to create 20,000 jobs. 20,000 jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, that's real change. We are proud and honored to be a partner to help make sure that the workers are highly skilled and highly trained, ideally local, that get the opportunity for a family-sustaining job, fair wages, good benefits, in a safe workplace. Of course, this wouldn't be possible at all if not for real federal investments with strong labor protections like were built into the bipartisan infrastructure bill. So, a big shout out to President Biden, Madam Secretary, Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, my good friend David McKinley. Thank you for making this opportunity possible. Thank you for making this opportunity possible to bring real change for West Virginia and its workers. The labor movement is ready to roll up its sleeve and get to work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We still do it the old-fashioned way in West Virginia. We work together. Doesn't matter what side of the political fence you're on or what side of the labor force you're on. You're all together because we can't. I've never seen a successful business without a successful workforce. I've never seen a good workforce without a good business that wanted them to do well. And it goes hand in hand. So all of our labor people, thank you so much for what you do every day, and I appreciate it. So without further ado, I have a gentleman that I have known for quite some time. I just can't believe that every time I see him, he has a new idea. He has a way to produce more energy in America. He has a way basically to make West Virginia and the United States of America totally energy independent and help all of our allies around the world. And he's been a dynamic person within this field. He was one of the first persons that I had gone to, and I said before, I want to introduce to you the CEO of EQT, my good friend, Toby Rice. Toby?
Joe, I was really happy that you mentioned how much energy we're producing in America. And it is true, we are producing records amount of energy. But is it enough? Rampant inflation, war in Ukraine, and by the way, global emissions are skyrocketing. It's not enough. America needs to do more. We are on the brink of a crisis, and seems like every week we see another reason to throw the energy markets in turmoil. It must be tough being the Secretary of Energy for the United States. But America is the solution, and the way that we're going to get out of this crisis and give ourselves the energy security that we demand and the energy security for the world that they deserve is through leadership. And you heard Congressman McKinley today talk a little bit about what that is. Doing the right thing when you know it's going to be hard. That's leadership. Voting for this, knowing that it's going to cost him his seat, that's leadership. Thank you for that. Shelley, your leadership on MVP. Being a consistent voice has not been a popular opinion. Thank you for your leadership. You know, Joe, I don't know how many cell phone numbers you switched when you were getting attacked by the mob, but you never left.
You always found it.
Never left your values, and you've put us in a great position here. That's leadership. And Secretary Granholm, during this crisis this last year, LNG exports was a concern for some people, and you rightfully defended LNG because it's the right thing to do for our allies. And you got a lot of pressure for that, but that you defended that decision to support LNG. That was leadership, and that was really amazing and inspiring for us. What I'm excited about with Arch 2 is this is giving an opportunity for our industry to come back and lead. The American Energy Independent has been an energy powerhouse force that has been sitting on the sidelines during this energy transition. With Arch 2, I'm telling you, we are here to lead. The last energy transition took place 20 years ago, and we were running out of energy, and the American independents cracked the code on shale and transformed America from being energy dependent to being an energy powerhouse in the world. That was the last transition. This is a new one. We are incredibly excited about the opportunity that Arch 2 provides us, and our industry has made the energy we produce cheaper, it's made it more reliable, and it's made it cleaner, and we're gonna make it even cleaner. But the one thing that this energy transition needs is energy that's cheaper, more reliable, cleaner. There's one thing that our industry can do, different than anybody else, make the energy that we produce bigger. And that's how we get the energy security back. That's how we end inflation. That's how we protect the 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. That's how we protect our allies in Europe and around the world. And so Arch 2, we are going to do some amazing things. We're going to lead on the innovation. We've got some amazing partners in industry that are help us along the way. And we are really excited about this opportunity and showing how America continue to lead and make the energy we produce cheaper, more reliable, cleaner, and most importantly, bigger.
Well, let me just tell you, when it came to hydrogen, how we got there, I started thinking back, how did wind and solar get to the point to where it got to when it was 16, 18, 20 cents a kilowatt hour down to 5 and 6 cents? It's because the United States government invested through tax incentives, production and tax credits and investment tax credits. It took about a 10-year period to get it back down to where it was so competitive. We never did that with anything else, and hydrogen's been around longer. Hydrogen's been perfected longer. So I'm looking, I says, what are we going to do? We got to find, how come we're not doing this? And then I found one person that was doing it in the United States of America. He's produced more hydrogen than anybody else in the United States. So it's not like it's only come lately. This person has been on the front line producing hydrogen for a long time. And he understands where we're going and how we have to get there and what it takes to do that. Let me introduce to you my good friend, Andy Marsh from Plug Power. Andy.
So thank you, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. And it has been a 15-year journey. And Secretary Granholm, it actually started with 300 units of fuel cells, which were seeded by the DOE back in 2009. We've turned that into 60,000 units. We turned that into 225 fueling stations. We turned that into a business that's around the world. That was great. But the IRA and the infrastructure bill, as the senator said earlier, is just transformational. With the little we got there, but with this package and all the companies engaged, we are building a hydrogen economy that will create jobs. It will help us with national security that will remain energy independent. It'll drive external investments, and finally, it'll help our climate. And I can tell you from my own personal example at Plug, we were about 500 people pre-COVID. Today, we're 4,000. Most of those people were at it. 1/3 actually came from the oil and gas industry and now work in hydrogen fuel cell and technologies of the future. And it really is just the start. Here in West Virginia, we're going to build a hydrogen plant to support this activity. And part of that, my largest customer, Amazon, wants to be the off-taker for most of that hydrogen. So we know where it goes. Often I get asked, is there a market for hydrogen and fuel cells? Well, if you have a sales force, we have 50 people out there selling. You can actually sell hydrogen. People want green hydrogen. West Virginia is uniquely positioned. When I take a look at West Virginia, what technologies are important here today? Pipelines are really, really important. It's come up. To move hydrogen cost effectively, you need pipelines. That will create jobs. To move hydrogen logistically, shipping and cargo is important. And when I've gone to your coal plants, I look, boy, you guys know how to move coal. And that's really important. And finally, when I take a step back, and this is really important, I go into some of the fossil fuel facilities and see you have the power infrastructure that already exists. I look at plants I build, 20% of the cost is actually building the substations. You already have the substations here in West Virginia. I finally want to talk about the fact how important these hubs are. The money from the federal government's great. The $7 billion will help accelerate this, everything. But what's really important is also these hubs become the platforms which companies like Plug will continue to build off of, because you'll have the workforce, you'll have the infrastructure to support it. And when we take a look at the hydrogen economy, people such as Bloomberg, this is not Andy Marsh of Plug trying to raise investment dollars, people at Bloomberg will tell you this will be $10 trillion of investment by 2050. Lots of money's coming to this industry. So let me tell you, the foresight that Senator Manchin had, the administration had, Senator Capio with the infrastructure bill, that insight to move America forward together and build out the next generation of jobs and the next generation of energy, I just salute. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it very much. And every team has to have a captain. Every team has to have a quarterback. Every team has to have somebody that calls the plays. We're fortunate enough to have part of this team, a company, and a leader of that company that had not only the ability, the training, and the expertise, but has shown that they can take on any project. There's not a project too big or too small that they haven't been involved with to make it better. And without further ado, I want to bring forth the CEO of Battelle, Lou Von Thayer. Lou, please come forward.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you esteemed guests, Congressman McKinley, senators, and Madam Secretary. I can tell you on behalf of Battelle, I'm so honored to be here today and to recognize the tremendous efforts that many people, and you've heard from some of the team members today, have put in to get this to happen, to secure Arch 2 for the region. And for this effort, it's a great example of government, business, and academia coming together for a true public partnership driving the Appalachian region. From the very beginning as prime contractor, Battelle's been privileged to plan, organize, and deliver with our partners some of the best technologies, the best ideas and visions to build an economically viable, socially equitable, and sustainable hydrogen ecosystem. This is not just about producing hydrogen, it's about shipping it, it's about storing it, it's about using it and building out an infrastructure so it's a lasting solution. And when the Arch 2 region has so much to offer, you've heard some of this already, but as we looked at this model, we believe this can be the model for other hydrogen hubs around the country. We have existing infrastructure ready to hook to the transmission lines and substations. We have an abundant supply of cheap natural gas from innovators who are doing that work. We have a robust and talented workforce, which deserves a stable, well-paying jobs for generations to come. And we have a strong partnership in place to advance diverse projects within the goal of bringing them to scale, to prove this can work not only at a small scale, but can work at the vast scale that our country needs. So Battelle's been deeply involved with scaling large projects like this, from our national lab complex to 8 DOE national laboratories that we run, to the largest continental scale ecological observatory for the NSF. We believe, and we've also helped destroy the chemical weapons of our nation. These are all big, complex programs like this one will be. And these things all have one thing in common. They have a lot of people. They never happen alone. They have a lot of teammates and team members, and everybody pitches in the same way and works the programs on the good days and especially on the bad days. We support this today, and we're very happy to be today with our other partner, Nettle, who's with us and will also help with this program. We're very proud that the Arch 2 Program Management Office will be located on the campus at West Virginia University in the Innovation Corporation Center. And to Secretary Granholm and the Department of Energy Office, I think your courage and your vision and leadership to get this done. I'm convinced. I have the privilege of seeing so many of our national labs. I think it's where the best innovation and research in this country happens today. And this is another example where the Department of Energy is making great things happen. And for Senator Manchin, tireless is probably the best way to describe it. You are tenacious, and it's good for all of us. So we are ready to move forward, and it's our privilege to be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Lou. When this team was put together, we knew it was the right team, and we knew it would have great results. And Harry and all the different people worked so hard on this made sure of that, and everyone's in it for the right reason. With that, we have a gentleman who's been in the energy business most of his life, I think. And then Jennifer saw the talent in this man and said, I'm bringing him into the department with me. So he came in as an undersecretary for infrastructure in the Department of Energy and has done a tremendous job, great to work with, very knowledgeable, understands the process, understands the demand we have in this country and the energy that we need in this country. So I'd like to bring forward David Crane. He is the Undersecretary for Infrastructure, DOE.
Thank you, Senator Manchin. Thank you, Senator Capito. And I do want to shout out to the folks from Nettle who are hosting us here today. Every time I come to one of the national labs. Yeah, can we have the Nettle folks raise their hand? Anyway, every time I see the research not in the national labs, our great universities, it gets me excited and optimistic about the future. I'm well aware that I'm the only thing standing between you and the actual notable folks that have come visit from Washington. So I'm going to be actually very brief. And as Senator Manchin said, I'm the Undersecretary for Infrastructure, which means that the Hydrogen Hub program is supervised by me. And I thought, well, what can I contribute to this discussion? Was that I thought I could tell you a little bit about the selection process without, divulging DOE secrets. But 79 hydrogen hubs applied for this award, and 7 got to the finish line. So let's have a round of applause. The 79 proposals encompassed 49 states, and when you think of 7 out of 79, that's pretty impressive. When you think, for a variety of reasons, that we actually put an emphasis on putting hydrogen hubs in ports, and of all the virtues of West Virginia, being an international port is not one of them. That just makes that, just from a statistical matter, improbably small that Arches 2, despite the fabulous name, would be a winner here today. And so how did you do it? And I have to tell you, it comes down to the in-person interview that folks in this room participated in that first week in August in Tyson Course. See their fists bumping up. So how about a round of applause for the Arches team? Yes, because what our team found that spent 6 hours in beautiful Tyson's Corner with the Arches team was that the level of collaboration, the level of mutual respect, the teamwork between industry, academia, labor, the communities was something that over 6 hours you cannot fake. And I have to tell you, that level of collaboration, first of all, is what's key to success, but it's also a fundamental part of the Biden administration's philosophy about how we achieve success as a nation, how we achieve prosperity. It's also very much a hallmark of Jennifer Granholm and the Department of Energy. So congratulations on that. The last thing I would say to this team, strap your seatbelt on. We're just getting going. This is the first step. My instructions to my team within the DOE is we want to move as fast as the private sector team is willing to go. So I'm asking you to push us to the edge of reasonableness, and we will try and stay with you so we can go from selection to award, and then we can all meet back here for groundbreaking. I want to end on a bit of a personal note. I'm not a lifetime government person. As Senator Manchin mentioned, I came to Washington specifically to implement the bipartisan infrastructure law. I spend every day of my life with that statute, and every time I read the statute, I think not only is this fabulous energy policy and fabulous climate policy, but I'm always struck by the humanity of it. And so Senator Manchin, as an architect of that bill, and folks at the White House, Mitch, my hat's off to you for what you've achieved in that bill, and now it's up to folks like me and you to implement it. And so finally, I didn't have the opportunity to grow up in West Virginia, but I spent my childhood next door in Ohio and then in Kentucky. And maybe at an earlier age than most, I've understood that West Virginia powered the prosperity of the United States through the 20th century. And to me, what these hydrogen hubs, this Arches 2 hydrogen hub here in West Virginia means is that West Virginia will be powering the prosperity of America well into the 21st century. So thank you very much.
Thank you, David. You know, a lot of people think that one source of energy will replace another. It really complements the other. It's going to help us. You know, coal production in West Virginia is up 5% the last 2 years. There's more demand for the coal that we have in our state around the world, whether it be thermal or coking. And with that, we're able to continue to use, in some of the power plants that we still have that are needing this dispatchable power, blending hydrogen with it is going to be able to help the emissions much more and give longer life to a plant that basically might have been doomed to close sooner than it should. With that, this next gentleman I'm going to introduce, I got to give you a little background. First time I heard the name Landrew, okay? It was 1972, and I was a very young person at that time. And Sam Huff calls me, and by that time the Super Bowl was in its infancy, still fairly new, right? So he says, you want to go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans? And I said, heck yeah, I want to go to the Super Bowl. Heard about it, and I said, I'll go. And he said, well, fine, get on a plane, fly down, and I'll have somebody pick you up. So I fly in New Orleans, and here's this gigantic motorcycle cop with boots clear up to his hips, and all this gala is on and everything. And he says, you Manchin? I says, yes, sir. He says, well, Sam Huff told me to come get you. He's with Mayor Landrew, Moon Landrew right now, and they're at the racetrack, and by God, they want you there. So I says, well, buddy, you take me wherever they are. His father had, when his father traveled around New Orleans, now this man ran the place, truly. There was no doubt who ran New Orleans. He had a whole entourage. He had all of his communications gear. Everywhere he went, it went. He was ready to take charge of him, and he could take over the whole country, I thought. I didn't know what was going on, but he was absolutely one of the greatest men I'd ever met, and I'm thinking, man, that's something. That's power. That's a person who wants to be involved. He loved his state, and he loved his city so much that I think it was 24/7. I don't know if he ever went to bed. Then I met his sister, Mary Landrew. Shelley knows her as well as I know her. She was a tough bird. She was tough. She was the oldest. She helped rule the roost, didn't she? With all the, still does. If Mary would just shut things down. She didn't care. Just shut her down. You better give. So it was easier. Someone says, it's either basically go ahead and agree on this piece of legislation or we're sticking Mary after you. That was the threat we all used, and it worked. But with that, here's a man that I watched and run that city during the most challenging, difficult times and have the most compassion for all of humanity across the board, and still does. And when they said we're going to have a piece of legislation, which we never did before, such as the mammoth legislation, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and all the other bipartisan bills we've done. You know, every time we did with the bipartisan, Shelley said, we talked and we said, can we get some people together and sit down and make this work? We pulled that bill out of the BBB, which was very controversial. We got rid of that. But we kept that part and we started working on it. They never thought we could do it. And they made us a promise, if we get it done and we can have a bipartisan agreement, will you put it on the floor so we can vote for it? We got that commitment. Then it went to the House. They held it hostage in the House. We got through that. And then it came time to implement it. And there was only one person, I believe, in this country could do what's going to be done and how it's being done in a fair and equitable way. And that's my friend, Mitch Landrew. Mitch?
Senator, thank you so much. Senator Capito, it's great to be with you. My partner, Madam Secretary, I can't wait to hear you and would defer to you to talk about the hydrogen hubs. Congressman, thank you for your courageous vote. Not that many people do that anymore. We need more of it. It's critically important to do the tough thing for the sake of what's right. David, thank you for coming out of the private sector to make a commitment. I know you took a little pay cut to do that. Mr. President, it's nice to see you again. Y'all got one of the best. Y'all stole him from Ohio. He came over here. You know, I heard y'all had a little trouble with your football team this weekend, but don't worry about it. I go watch the Saints from time to time, you know, and sometimes we used to put bags on our heads when they were having bad games, but they went on to win the Super Bowl. So it's great to see you again as well. I met Joe Manchin when he was Secretary of State, and I was Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana. By the way, yeah, Fox McKiffin, you're right. By the way, that police officer's name you met was Peter Dale.
Was it?
He's a big, tall boy.
Oh,
He's
geez.
about six. He was a big old boy,
Your dad's
6'11",
sitting
wear
there.
big old boots.
sitting
And
there
you never
intimidating.
told Peter Dale no. And so you were smart to go where he told you to go.
I surrendered early.
Anyway, I'm here on behalf of President Joe Biden as part of his team, along with Madam Secretary, who was a great governor in her own right. And I've told her many times if she was born in the United States, she would have been president of the United States. That's how much I think about what her talent is. And I can tell you, I have been knowing Joe Biden a very, very long time. And in my work with him on the last 2 years, I've come to actually love him more. When the president ran for office, he said a couple of pretty simple things. He said that if you elect me president, I'm going to use my power to try to restore the soul of the nation. We seem to have lost our way. We've got to try to find the better angels among us and try to find a way to cooperate. I'm going to try to find a way to unite the country in this very turbulent time that you talked about that we're in right now. And that one of the ways I'm going to help unite the country is with a very simple idea, is that if you bring people together and you invest in the people of America, if you invest in things, then you can build big things. And that's essentially what his theory of governing has been. Now, for those of you that get despondent from time to time because you watch TV more than maybe all of us should, and you think that nothing works, it is great to be here on this day talking about a thing that is proof that when we get together, when we lay down our differences, when we try to find common ground, when we really think about the future and build on the good things in the past and the mistakes of the past, so we can actually create a future that we all deserve. And that's what today's announcement essentially is about. In 2019, I was kind of moving through West Virginia. I was in Charleston. Actually, that night, Joe, we had dinner at your house. But during that day, I met with 5 or 6 gentlemen who had worked way down deep in the earth, in the coal mines. And they were unhappy. They were unhappy with everybody. They didn't like the folks that own the coal companies. They didn't like the government. They didn't like anybody. And they told me what the senator said today. He said, you know, people told us that if we went down in that hole and we sucked up that dirty dirt, we broke our arms, broke our legs, broke our backs. One guy said I had 11 surgeries on my neck so that we could fuel the country to protect our freedom, that people would not forget us. And that's not true. That's not what happened. People left us behind. Now, I'm from Louisiana. I'm from an extraction state. I know what it's like to take raw material, raw talent, intellectual capital, and have somebody take it outside of the state, add value to it, try to sell it back to you for more money, and then leave you behind, and then act like you did something wrong. And those guys were looking for dignity. Now, I'm here to tell you that Joe Biden understands that. He talks about that all the time. He talks about his daddy sitting at the kitchen table and the lack of dignity that his daddy felt when he lost his job, when he couldn't put, 2 squares on the table. And the president understands that. He loves West Virginia, and he loves the people of West Virginia. And one of the reasons why he worked so hard to work with Senator Manchin and Senator Capito and the congressman to pass this bill is he knew that if you passed a bipartisan infrastructure law, one, you would prove the point that people who work together can do big things. And by the way, if you use that big thing to invest in people of America, you can create a future for them, give them hope, give them opportunity, give them dignity. And that's, in fact, what we have done together. And in the last 2 years, in your country, in this beloved country that we care so much about, we have pushed $300 billion out of the door. We have 38,000 projects, rebuilding the roads, the bridges, the airports, the ports, the waterways, high-speed internet, so a little girl doesn't need to be sitting outside a Cracker Barrel trying to steal their internet so she can do her homework, so she can become the next person that produces the next power source that we need to be energy secure. Make sure we have clean air and clean water. You understand this better than anybody. You got a bunch of abandoned mine lands here. that are leaching into the water, that make it hard for us to rebuild our communities. Everybody understands clean air and clean water. And then finally, why we are here today, which is to find a way to build a clean energy economy so we can have energy security, so we can have prosperity, but most importantly, so we can give those folks that were down in that hole a little dignity about their life. And so this idea that all of these folks worked up here to do, put significant money in this bill, $8 billion, to actually be used to work with universities, to be work with the private sector, federal, state, local. This sounds familiar. Everybody shows up. Everybody's got opportunity. Everybody's got responsibility to actually rebuild this country and give us a future that we deserve. And so that's what today is about. The president made that commitment. The president has delivered in partnership with everybody here on this promise. This thing would not have happened if everybody who's in this room did not show up to just prove the point. When we all do things together, we can actually do big things. And I have no doubt that based on the announcement the Secretary is about to make, you will see that this is a recognition of the past sacrifice that the men and women of West Virginia have made, and a down payment on the future so they can have hope, opportunity, dignity, national security, economic security, and a climate that actually will protect our sons and daughters. So on behalf of the president, let me just thank all of you for the work that you have done. But now it's time to actually make it happen. And my job is to keep everybody on time, on task, on budget. So let's get the hell to work and let's get it done. Senator Manchin, back to you.
Thanks, Mitch. Well, again, the next lady needs no introduction whatsoever. It's because of her agency that we are sitting here today. This Department of Energy has a jurisdiction and basically is in charge of having the United States of America have the energy that we need, that we can depend on, we can rely on, and we can afford. And that's their job. And by picking West Virginia, she's done it exemplary. She's made the smartest choice that anyone could ever make, David. I know you helped her, and I appreciate that. But it's a lady that I have enjoyed working with for many years. Her and her husband, Dan, have been great friends, and we consider them friends. And we've had a great relationship. We were governors together, and coming into the administration, still being able to work through our differences, but coming out with a positive ending every time. And that's really what it's about. And I just thank her more than she knows for being here today. She made an effort to come here. She's been moving around the country. I understand you're in demand all over the country right now for the next 6. Are we the first announced?
After Philadelphia,
We're the first.
you're in Philly on Friday.
Well, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin's got nothing on us, you understand? Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce you to the Secretary of the Department of Energy of the United States of America, Jennifer Granholm.
Oh, my goodness. No, please, my goodness. Oh, that's so nice. No, no, no. Listen, this is right back at you. You're standing up because of the work that you all did to make this happen, right? You should be standing up, too. You can sit down, but because really, as I told Senator Manchin when I called to let him know this was going to happen, I said, Joe, this is all you. You should feel and take ownership of your leadership in crafting this so that it is, I mean, it's obviously going to benefit the whole country, but this announcement really is because of Senator Manchin's leadership. Yes, he's got battles that he takes on with the White House, we get that, but you have been amazing for this state, but also amazing for the nation. Thank you for your leadership on this. And, you know, Senator Capito and, I mean, really, Congressman McKinley is an example of just amazing courage in this. It shouldn't be courageous, right? To have to vote for something that's good. It should not be courageous. But in these times, it is courageous. And I just hope that your example and the results, the fruits of your example, will give courage to others so that we see more of this investing in America, which is what this announcement today represents. So thank you as well. And I know David Crane mentioned our Nettle team. Raise your hand if you're here from Nettle. All right. NETL, one of our 17 national labs, has been working on hydrogen solutions. I mean, the Department of Energy has historically been a research and development and early stage demonstration entity, and now with the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, a whole lot of funding is going to the other end of the spectrum, which is deployment of this technology. So what this represents, so you are part of 7 hydrogen hubs across the nation. The fact here that about a little under $1 billion in federal investment generates another $5 billion in private sector investment is amazing, because that is replicated across the country as well. So this $8 billion invested in hydrogen hubs is going to generate over $50 billion of investment in America. That is private sector-led, government-enabled. And early-stage technology requires that partnership with government in order to make it successful. Let me give you just some examples of what this looks like here, what it will look like here. For those who don't even know what hydrogen is, because it's new. I mean, if I asked my mom to explain to me what hydrogen was, she would have no idea what I was talking about, right? So, I mean, if you just think of the most basic thing around, which is water, you remember from school, that's H2O. What does that mean? 2 atoms of hydrogen, right, is in the H2, right? So we have to get that H2 out. And how do we do that? Well, we have production sites all over West Virginia now. There will be 10 production sites to get hydrogen out of water or of natural gas. And those production sites means that people are going to be put to work building those sites, operating those sites in places like, I just want to make sure I get this right, in places like Fairmont, Follansbee, am I pronouncing that right? North Point, Pleasant, Parkersburg, Bell, Moore, all across the state. And it's not just this state. I must say, you are partnered with 2 other states. One of them, of course, Pennsylvania, one of them, Ohio. And so those production sites, getting that hydrogen out, now you got to take the hydrogen that was made and send it to somebody who's going to be using it. Who's going to be using it? Well, right now, you can put clean hydrogen through fuel cells into heavy-duty transportation. And so communities that are living where there's a lot of heavy industry and are breathing the fumes of diesel, which can be carcinogenic, certainly unhealthy, now will have heavy-duty trucks with hydrogen fuel cells and no emissions. How fantastic is that? Cleaning up the air is part of this strategy, part of the win. It's not just heavy-duty transportation. It is heavy-duty industry as well. Heavy-duty industry puts a lot of carbon pollution and other pollution up into the air. But if you can decarbonize that industry using a fuel like hydrogen, you will have addressed a major problem, because the heaviest industry is the hardest nut to crack. In fact, as Energy Secretary, I meet with my counterparts around the world, energy ministers, who are all trying to crack the code on how to get clean, inexpensive hydrogen. Because hydrogen is considered the Swiss Army knife of energies. Why? Because it can be used to carry energy, it can be used to store, it can be stored, it can be liquefied and exported, it can be transformed to green ammonia for fertilizer, it can be used in transportation, in all sorts of uses. It is the most versatile energy source. So you here in West Virginia, you are going to be leading the nation in this new clean energy world. This is creating a whole new energy economy. Your offtakes here are heavy-duty vehicles, quarry trucks, ammonia, power generation, steel, industrial heat, data centers are going to be using this, residential fuel cells for remote areas, all sorts of uses, all sorts of businesses, all sorts of infrastructure that's needed. And that's what's going to create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. Thank you so much to our labor friends who are partners in demonstrating that you are all in on this clean energy future. So, one of the things that nobody has said that I just want you all to be really proud of is because since you are a state that has obviously been so important in developing our energy past and now our energy future, and has been a fossil fuel state. So we go with hydrogen solutions to places that are big producers of carbon dioxide. This hub is going to be removing the greatest amount of carbon pollution from the atmosphere of any of the hubs. That is an amazing thing and something you should be very proud of. This is the dawn of a new era for this country because it's a whole new sector. And now, because of what we're facing in the world, to your point, our allies are looking for solutions to be energy independent. We want to make sure we are energy independent. We don't want to have to rely upon energy from countries whose values we don't share, who may weaponize energy. So America is now going to be the place where private sector investment is happening in clean hydrogen. America is going to be the place where we advance the most significant clean energy technologies. America is going to be the place where we create the highest paying, longest lasting jobs with the best workers in the world. And you are at the tip of the spear, West Virginia. Congratulations.
Thank you, Jennifer, for those inspiring words. We appreciate it very much. I'd be amiss in not mentioning my staff, and I know Shelley feels the same way with her staff, and I know David felt the same with his staff. None of us could do what we do if it hadn't been for the staffs. I have Mara Boggs and our entire staff up in there. We got Bill Bissett down here with Shelley's staff, and we even stole some of David's staff that came on board when David retired. Anyway. I appreciate it very much. I'm glad to be here with my children. I have Joseph, my son, here with me today. We don't get to see each other as much as we love to, but anyway, having him and Heather has really been special. You know, Jennifer mentioned that there's other states involved, and there is. Pennsylvania, and there's Ohio. There's going to be a lot of things happening in all of our states, but make no mistake about it. This state right here, this is the place where it's going to happen the most. This is where the headquarters is going to be. And Lou and I have had this discussion, and so has Gordon and Brad and all of us. This is basically the home base, correct, Lou? To all of you all, to Brad, to Gordon, to Tom, Josh, Toby, Andy, thank you for coming in. Lou, thank you and your team. Charlie, always good being with you, buddy. Good having you here. But to all of you, this happens because of West Virginia. To all the workforce that we have, all of our labor friends that we have, basically who've done everything that we ever asked of them. Someone one time asked me, I said, what happened to West Virginia? You know, politics, everything's changed. I says, nothing happened to us. What happened to Washington? For a while there, I think it's been mentioned here that we felt like the returning Vietnam veteran. We've done everything this country's asked us to do. We've done all the heavy lifting. We've done the dirty work, never complained at all. We've given everything we had. And then we weren't good enough. We weren't clean enough. We weren't smart enough. Now all of a sudden, they're going to cast us aside. Well, let me tell you one thing. We have arrived, and we are here today to show the rest of the world what we can do for the energy this country needs and the world needs. The innovation creation will start here. This is not sending checks out to businesses. We're not sending checks. This is not a freebie. You've got to invest. You've got to produce something. You've got to make something. You've got to take a risk. The only thing different about America and about other places in the world, I've been beat up for 13 years. I know Shelley has too. Oh, we have to have carbon cap and trade. You have to have carbon tax. Well, guess what? They have not used the money they've had for 20, 30 years in Europe, and they wonder why we were able to leapfrog so quick with the bills we passed. We leapfrogged because we basically took a risk. We minimized the risk that the businesses have to take. They have to make a decision. Where are you going to invest your money? How much risk are you taking? What's the return on that? When government becomes your partner and doesn't beat you over the head, and they want to work with you because they have as much skin in the game as you do, They want you to succeed and be profitable and be successful. I'll never forget, I talked to President Macron and to Chancellor Schultz. They were so mad over the bills we've passed, whether it be the infrastructure bill, whether it's the IRA. They were so upset that it was basically sucking all the investments out of their country. And I said, sir, let me just make sure you understand. We didn't sit down and say, how can we harm our good friends in France or Germany or England, anywhere else? Those are our allies. We felt that we weren't there to help you when you got basically energy cut off from your country and you needed it. And we have to never leave you in that position again. So we talked about that, and I said, the difference is you took the stick route. You've been charging basically a carbon fee forever. You never put the money back in to create an incentive for the innovators and creators of the world to come and make investments in your country because they were taking all the risk. We used a carrot, and we used the incentive and minimized the risk, and they're all coming to America. And never shall we ever make that mistake again in this country, that we ever allow the building blocks of our nation to come from areas of this world that doesn't have our values. The Chinas, the Russias, the North Koreas, the Irans. That can never happen again. We've got to be self-sufficient, produce what we need here, and protect what we have. So with that, let me say thank you. This is a great day for West Virginia. It's a great day for our country. It's a great day for the H2 Hub and for all of this and this team that you put together. On behalf of Senator Capito, on behalf of David and what he was able to do and the sacrifices he's made, but on all of you and Governor Justice's team, Mitch, especially you and all your team, the economic development, you're still working, pulling people together, and we appreciate that. Thank you. May God continue to bless the great state of West Virginia. May God continue to bless, and he has, the United States of America, and may he now bless the hydrogen hub in West Virginia. Thank you. We got to take